Have you ever felt invisible in a crowded room? Overlooked when you deserved the spotlight? Or judged not for who you are, but for what others assume you might be? Imagine walking into a place where you have every right to be, yet eyes lock on you with suspicion. Whispers swirl around you like a storm. You can feel the tension in the air, thick and suffocating. A silent battle rages, not with fists, but with glances and unspoken accusations. Now picture a moment when everything changes. The calm before the storm shatters. The unexpected happens. And the truth hidden beneath assumptions comes rushing to the surface like a tidal wave. This is not just a story of one person's journey. It's a reflection of millions of untold stories, moments where courage meets injustice and dignity confronts discrimination. But what happens when the judged become the judges? When the underestimated rise to claim their power? You're about to witness a tale that will grip your heart, challenge your thoughts, and leave you questioning what you thought you knew. Wherever you are right now, whether watching this in a bustling city, a quiet town, or somewhere far away, this story will reach you. Because the struggle, the hope, and the resilience it carries are universal. So tell me, from where in the world are you watching? Drop your city or country in the comments. I'm eager to know how far this story will travel. And don't go anywhere. The next story I'll share is even more powerful, even more gripping. It's a journey of strength, unexpected twists, and a lesson that resonates far beyond the skies. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss it. Trust me, you'll want to be here, because sometimes the fiercest battles happen when least expected, and sometimes the strongest victories come from the quietest moments. Stay tuned. Monica Harris had always been a woman of purpose. Her every step reflected a rhythm composed of perseverance, brilliance, and unshakable calm. Today was no different. The airport was a microcosm of the world, an intersection of countless lives, stories, and destinies. Travelers bustled past, wrapped in their own urgency, while overhead announcements chimed in the background like the steady pulse of life. Monica, with her deep brown skin glowing under the terminal lights, stood out, not for her appearance alone, but for the aura she carried. Her high bun was impeccably neat, a silent testament to the order she demanded in her life. Her bright orange t-shirt contrasted vividly with her dark blue jeans, an ensemble that echoed her subtle defiance of conformity. The first-class boarding had begun. With a sleek leather bag resting lightly on her arm, Monica approached the gate with quiet confidence. Her ticket was confirmed, an upgrade she'd secured months ago after painstaking negotiations with her company's travel department. Yet, as she reached the entrance to the airplane, she was met with resistance that felt heavy and inexplicable. "Ma'am," said a voice sharp as a blade. Monica turned to see the flight attendant, an impeccably dressed woman with pale skin and blonde hair tied tightly into a bun. Her eyes were cold, calculating, and filled with something that went beyond professional concern. "Can I see your boarding pass again?" The question wasn't unusual in itself, but the tone carried an edge that prickled Monica's skin. She complied, offering her pass with a steady hand. The attendant scanned it, then looked up sharply. "This seat is reserved. You can't board yet." Monica's smile was calm, polite, but unyielding. "I confirmed my seat weeks ago. Please check again." The attendant's lips tightened. "Step back. There's a problem." Around them, the murmurs of other passengers grew. Eyes flickered between the two women, sensing tension, though no one quite understood its source. Monica felt it then, the invisible weight pressing down on her. It was not just about a boarding pass or a seat. It was something far more insidious. A silent judgment based on nothing she had done, but everything she represented. She had known this feeling all her life. In boardrooms where her voice was the only one of color. In meetings where her ideas were second-guessed. In moments where she was an outsider, unwelcome despite undeniable merit. Yet here, confronted so publicly, the sting was sharper. "I'm only asking you to wait," the attendant said, voice now harsher. Monica's eyes locked with hers. "Is that really all?" Passengers watched, some shifting uncomfortably, others staring, captivated. Monica could feel the divide between those who silently condemned the flight attendant's behavior and those who accepted it as normal. Her heart was steady, but her mind raced. She weighed her options. Fight, comply, make a scene, or walk away? She chose none. Instead, Monica exhaled slowly, maintaining her composure. Taking her seat by the window, Monica looked out. The world beyond was vast and indifferent. Blue sky, drifting clouds, an endless expanse of possibility. But inside, a different battle brewed. The flight attendant hovered nearby, eyes flickering with conflict. Anger, fear, perhaps regret. Monica wondered briefly what had forged this woman's sharp edges. As the engines roared softly and the plane began to taxi, Monica's thoughts shifted. She recalled the many battles she'd fought, not just for herself but for others who looked like her. Her journey was more than a flight to New York. It was a voyage through layers of societal tension, a test of strength. And this moment, charged and fragile, was the first act. The cabin lights dimmed to a gentle glow, the hum of the engines a low, steady vibration beneath their feet. Monica settled into her seat by the window, the worn leather cool against her fingertips. She gazed out, but her mind was elsewhere, tracing the familiar contours of a fight she had known far too well. From the corner of her eye, she caught the flight attendant's gaze, sharp, uncertain, almost searching. For a moment, the veil between two strangers seemed thin, revealing the tangled web beneath. Her name was Karen. From a small town with narrow views and tighter prejudices, Karen had grown up learning to navigate a world that felt precarious and unforgiving. Behind the polished exterior and crisp uniform lay a history shadowed by hardship, frustration, and fear. She had her own battles, moments when life had dealt harsh blows, when people dismissed her worth or ridiculed her dreams. Yet somehow, she had clawed her way into this career, proud to serve in the skies, to touch the edges of the world she had once only dreamed of. But Karen's pride was fragile. It was built on layers of insecurity and a desperate need to prove herself. And in Monica, she saw a challenge, a reflection of everything she feared losing. Monica felt the tension simmering, thickening the air. The flight attendant's steps grew hesitant then resolute as she approached again. "Ma'am," Karen said quietly, "I'm going to have to ask you to come with me." There was no anger now, only a brittle edge of command. Monica met her eyes steadily. "What now?" she asked softly. "This is causing a disturbance," Karen replied. "We need to resolve this before takeoff." The cabin was charged. Passengers glanced nervously at the unfolding drama. Phones were subtly raised, whispers exchanged. Monica's voice was calm but firm. "I've done nothing wrong." Karen's reply was clipped. "You're making others uncomfortable." The accusation hung in the air, heavier than the engine's roar. Monica's mind raced. Every instinct screamed for dignity, for justice. Yet the moment demanded careful navigation. She stood slowly, collecting her bag. Eyes locked on hers, Karen's expression flickered, something like doubt or regret. Monica nodded slightly. "If you insist." As Monica walked the aisle, heads turned. A few passengers offered subtle nods of support. Others averted their gaze. Outside, the cold air of the jet bridge was a stark contrast to the heated atmosphere inside. Monica paused, then turned away without a backward glance. This was not surrender. It was a strategic retreat. Monica's thoughts went deeper. This moment was a microcosm of wider struggles, of race, power, identity. She recalled the words of her mother, a woman forged in the fires of civil rights battles. "Stand tall, even when the world wants you small." Monica was not just fighting for a seat on a plane. She was fighting for respect, for recognition, for the right to exist without prejudice. As the jet doors closed behind her, Monica's resolve hardened. This was far from over. To all watching, where in the world are you right now? What's your story? Drop your city or country in the comments. Let's connect across the miles. And remember, The next story coming is even more compelling, filled with twists that will surprise and inspire. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell. The journey continues. Monica walked steadily down the jet bridge, the hum of the airport a distant backdrop to her focused mind. The cool air brushed against her face, awakening her senses in contrast to the stifling tension inside the plane. Though calm outwardly, her heart hammered with the familiar sting of rejection, a rejection she had known far too well, yet never let define her. This was not just about a seat on a plane. It was about belonging, respect, and dignity. Each step felt heavier than the last, carrying the invisible weight of thousands of moments when society had whispered, "You don't belong." She paused briefly to look back toward the aircraft's closed door, its smooth metal surface cold and unyielding. Inside, Karen, the flight attendant, stood rigid, a storm of conflicting emotions crossing her face. Confusion, guilt, frustration. Monica's mind traveled back to her childhood, growing up in a neighborhood where opportunity was a scarce commodity. Her parents had sacrificed everything so she could reach beyond the limitations imposed by the world around them. She remembered her mother's soft voice at night, reading stories of heroes and pioneers, Black women and men who had dared to dream despite relentless adversity. "I want you to know," her mother had said, "that your worth is not determined by how others see you, but by the fire you carry inside." That fire burned brightly now, fueling Monica's determination. She would not let this moment break her. Back inside the cabin, passengers exchanged glances. Some felt uncomfortable witnessing the confrontation. Others whispered about what they had seen. A few quietly admired Monica's dignity. The atmosphere had shifted. What had started as a routine boarding had transformed into a subtle reckoning, a reminder of the societal fault lines invisible to many. Karen, standing stiffly near the front, tried to compose herself. Her eyes betrayed her, a mixture of anger, shame, and something deeper, a flicker of remorse. She had done what she thought was right, yet the truth unsettled her. Monica stepped into the terminal. The ambient noise of rolling suitcases, distant announcements, and chattering travelers welcoming her back to the chaotic world outside the aircraft. She walked toward the seating area, her mind racing, not with defeat, but with strategy. Every setback was a lesson. Every barrier was a challenge to overcome. This moment would fuel her next move. What no one on that flight knew was that Monica Harris was not just a passenger. She was the CEO of a rapidly growing technology company, a woman whose decisions influenced thousands, whose innovations were shaping industries. She was a force in a world that often refused to acknowledge her existence. Her outward calm masked an unyielding strength, a strength that would soon be revealed. As Monica sat in the bustling terminal lounge, she accessed her phone, sending quick emails and messages to her team. Her next steps were clear. This incident would not fade into obscurity. It would become a catalyst. She would address it not with anger, but with the power of her position. To those watching this story unfold, I ask, where in the world are you watching from? Share your city, your country, your corner of the globe in the comments below. Let's build a community united by stories of courage, resilience, and justice. And remember, the next part of this journey is even more gripping. The truth behind Monica's quiet power will be revealed, and with it, a twist that changes everything. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss what happens next. Monica's story is not just about one flight, one confrontation. It is a mirror reflecting the broader struggles faced by many, of prejudice, of silent battles fought daily. But it is also a story of hope, that dignity, respect, and justice can prevail. Monica Harris sat in the quiet conference room of her company's headquarters, a sleek modern space bathed in natural light. The walls were lined with framed patents and awards, a testament to years of innovation and relentless work. Yet today, her mind was elsewhere, replaying the events aboard Flight 832. Though the incident had ended with her stepping off the plane, it was far from over. She tapped her fingers lightly on the polished glass table, her thoughts focused, purposeful. Monica's phone buzzed. Messages from her legal team, from her communications director, and from trusted allies. The wheels were already turning. An unjust moment like this wasn't just a personal affront. It was an opportunity to challenge the system. She drafted a statement, clear, firm, and measured. It would be shared publicly, but first, internally, ensuring the company stood united. She knew that stories like hers resonated beyond one person's experience. They illuminated deeper issues in society, biases still entrenched despite progress. Her fight was bigger than her. In another part of the city, Karen sat alone in her small apartment. The weight of the day pressed heavily on her. She stared at her reflection in the mirror, the uniform discarded on the chair beside her. Tears threatened again, but this time they carried the weight of realization, not just frustration. She thought about the woman on the plane, the calm, composed stranger who didn't crumble under pressure. Something about Monica's dignity unsettled her. For the first time, Karen questioned her own beliefs and actions. The next morning, Monica's statement was published online. It read, "I boarded Flight 832 with confidence in my right to occupy space equal to anyone else. What I encountered was a reminder that prejudice still exists, often masked by protocol, but unmistakable to those who experience it. This is a call for awareness and change within companies, industries, and communities." The message went viral, shared and discussed across social media platforms, news outlets, and forums. Support poured in from all corners. Airline executives couldn't ignore the storm brewing around their brand. Customer service teams scrambled to prepare responses. Legal departments braced for possible repercussions. Karen found herself the focus of internal investigations, her actions scrutinized not just for professionalism, but for ethics. Despite the public attention, Monica remained composed. She wasn't interested in personal vindication. Her goal was systemic change. She met with advocacy groups, corporate leaders, and policymakers, pushing for enhanced training, better accountability, and more inclusive workplace environments. Her journey from passenger to activist was underway. The flight incident became a catalyst, sparking conversations, challenging norms, and inspiring others to speak out. Monica knew the road ahead would be long and fraught with obstacles, but she was ready. Her story was no longer just hers. It was a beacon for anyone who had ever been judged unfairly. The morning sunlight filtered through the towering glass windows of the airline's corporate headquarters, casting long shadows across the sleek marble floors. Inside, the atmosphere was tense, thick with whispers and hurried footsteps. Executives gathered in a large boardroom, faces grim as they reviewed the backlash ignited by the incident on Flight 832. At the head of the table sat the CEO, a composed man in his early 50s, named Richard Benton. His gaze was sharp, betraying a mind already strategizing the company's next move. "We need to act swiftly and decisively," he said, voice steady but firm. "This isn't just a PR issue. It's a reflection of deeper problems in our training and culture." Around him, the senior management nodded in agreement, each weighing the potential fallout. The media coverage was relentless, social networks ablaze with hashtags demanding accountability and justice. Meanwhile, Monica sat in her office, surrounded by floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked the bustling city below. Her phone buzzed, incessantly, messages from supporters, journalists, and advocates. Despite the overwhelming attention, she felt grounded. Her team had arranged a meeting with representatives from the airline, civil rights organizations, and diversity experts. The goal, to foster a genuine dialogue that could lead to real change. As she prepared for the session, Monica reflected on the power of moments like these, how one encounter could ripple out to touch countless lives. Across town, Karen struggled to find peace. The internal investigation was underway, and she faced a crossroads. She began attending diversity and sensitivity workshops, listening to stories that challenged her previous assumptions. The process was painful but necessary. Karen realized that ignorance wasn't an excuse. Understanding and change were imperative. Back online, the public response evolved. Forums and social media groups formed, providing platforms for people to share their own experiences with discrimination and resilience. Monica's story became a touchstone, a rallying point for discussions on race, privilege, and systemic bias. She was invited to speak at conferences, universities, and corporate events, her voice a beacon of strength and hope. Under mounting pressure, the airline announced a series of initiatives: mandatory anti-bias training, a revamped customer service policy, and the creation of an oversight committee. Richard Benton personally reached out to Monica, proposing collaboration to ensure the measures were effective and meaningful. For Monica, the journey was as personal as it was political. She balanced her roles as a CEO, advocate, and woman navigating a world still rife with inequity. She found solace in her close circle, friends, family, and colleagues who supported and inspired her. The incident on the plane had sparked a fire, and now she was determined to keep it burning. Weeks later, Monica received an invitation to the airline's annual leadership summit. It was an opportunity, a chance to address industry leaders and influence future policies. She prepared meticulously, crafting a speech that was both candid and constructive. Standing before the audience, she spoke not just of her experience, but of a vision for inclusivity and respect. Her words resonated, sparking commitments from other companies and inspiring a movement within the travel industry. Karen, too, attended the summit, this time as part of the airline's diversity task force. Her journey of growth was ongoing, but she was committed to making amends and fostering change. In a moment of unexpected grace, Monica and Karen crossed paths. Their eyes met, complex, layered with the past but hopeful for the future. The dawn was breaking over the city skyline, casting soft golden hues on the glass towers that housed some of the world's most influential companies. Monica Harris woke early, her mind already racing with plans, ideas, and the weight of responsibility she carried. The events of the past weeks had transformed her from a private executive into a public figure, an advocate for change in an industry long resistant to it. But Monica understood that true transformation required more than speeches and policy changes. It demanded courage, vulnerability, and unwavering persistence. Though the public celebrated her bravery, Monica grappled with quieter battles. Late nights filled with strategy meetings, calls with stakeholders, and endless media appearances left little room for rest. Her personal life felt fragile under the spotlight. Friends worried about the toll the spotlight might take. Yet Monica's resolve never wavered. She often reflected on the words of Maya Angelou. "You may not control all the events that happen to you, but you can decide not to be reduced by them." Monica was determined not to be reduced. Recognizing the power of collaboration, Monica reached out to leaders beyond her industry, civil rights activists, social scientists, and educators, to build a coalition aimed at tackling systemic discrimination at multiple levels. Workshops were organized focusing not just on racial bias but also intersectionality, how gender, class, and identity intersect to shape experiences. The coalition's efforts quickly gained traction, inspiring similar movements globally. For Karen, the journey was no less profound. She dedicated herself to education and self-reflection, attending seminars, reading extensively, and engaging in difficult conversations with people whose experiences challenged her worldview. Her commitment earned respect from colleagues and activists alike. Though the road was sometimes isolating, Karen understood that change was a marathon, not a sprint. Months after the initial confrontation, the industry gathered once more at the annual leadership summit. This time, Monica's presence was marked not only by her advocacy but also by a tangible shift in attitudes. Her keynote address was powerful, urging industries to embrace empathy, accountability, and radical inclusion. She spoke candidly about the incident that sparked her activism, but framed it within a broader call for societal transformation. After the summit, Monica and Karen met privately, a moment charged with complexity. They spoke openly about hurt, growth, and the shared desire to build a better future. It was a conversation marked by honesty and tentative reconciliation, a reminder that transformation begins with dialogue. Monica's fight extended beyond airline policies. She launched initiatives to support minority entrepreneurs, investing in mentorship and access to capital. Her story inspired countless others, demonstrating that individual courage could ignite collective change. The story of Monica and Karen was far from over. It was a narrative of resilience, learning, and hope, a testament to the power of truth to break barriers. As Monica gazed out at the horizon, she knew the road ahead would be challenging, but she was ready. For every setback, there was a lesson. For every barrier, an opportunity. And for every voice silenced, a chorus waiting to rise. Monica sat alone in her office late one evening, the city lights flickering through the floor-to-ceiling windows like distant stars. The weight of her responsibilities settled around her like a thick blanket, but beneath it burned an unyielding flame of determination. She reflected on how far she'd come. From a determined girl in a tough neighborhood to the CEO steering a movement for change. Her phone buzzed with messages of support from strangers inspired by her story. Each one was a reminder that her fight was bigger than herself. Yet, in the stillness, doubts whispered. Could one person truly reshape an industry? Could deeply rooted biases be dismantled by speeches and policies alone? But Monica had learned long ago. Progress was rarely swift or easy. It was forged in moments like these, steady, persistent, and unwavering. Elsewhere, Karen was attending a community outreach program organized by the airline, a space for dialogue, healing, and education. Her role was no longer just as a flight attendant, but as an advocate for change, sharing her journey from ignorance to awareness. She spoke candidly about her mistakes, her fears, and the hard lessons learned. Some in the room listened with skepticism, others with empathy. But Karen knew that true transformation began with honesty. As Monica's coalition grew, she encountered allies from unexpected places, former skeptics, corporate rivals, and grassroots activists. Together, they crafted initiatives that transcended industries, scholarships for underrepresented youth, anti-bias curricula in schools, and corporate accountability frameworks. The movement was no longer just a response to one incident, but a beacon of hope for systemic change. One afternoon, Monica received a letter, handwritten and earnest, from Karen. In it, Karen expressed remorse and a desire to make amends. She asked for a meeting, hoping to bridge the divide that had defined their encounter. Monica considered the request carefully. Forgiveness was powerful, but boundaries were necessary. After reflection, she agreed to meet, not just for closure, but to model the courage to confront pain and pursue healing. Their meeting was held in a quiet cafe, far from the glare of public scrutiny. The conversation was raw, honest, and at times uncomfortable. Karen shared stories of her upbringing, her struggles, and the biases she'd carried unknowingly. Monica listened, offering insights into the impact of those biases. Neither expected perfection, but both embraced the imperfect path toward understanding. From that meeting emerged a shared vision, a commitment to collaborate on educational programs aimed at preventing discrimination before it could take root. Their partnership became a symbol, a testament that change was possible even between those once divided by pain. Monica expanded her efforts globally, partnering with organizations across continents to address inequality. Her message resonated worldwide. Change requires courage, humility, and relentless commitment. She spoke at international forums, inspiring a new generation of leaders. As Part 3 draws to a close, Monica and Karen's story is a powerful reminder. Transformation is not a destination but a journey. It's a path marked by setbacks and triumphs, pain and healing, conflict and reconciliation. Their lives intertwined, their missions aligned. They stand as beacons in a world yearning for justice. The city was waking up beneath a sky streaked with early morning hues. Monica Harris sat in the quiet corner of her penthouse office, the skyline stretching endlessly before her. But despite the breathtaking view, Her mind was heavy with the weight of what lay ahead. The journey so far had been transformative, not only for herself but for many who had rallied behind her cause. Yet with visibility came expectations, from shareholders, activists, the media, and her own team. The pressure to be perfect, unwavering, and relentless was immense. She knew one misstep could unravel months of progress. Late nights brought restless thoughts. Doubts whispered in moments of silence. Is this sustainable? Am I enough to carry this? What if the tide turns against us? But Monica's spirit was tempered by a fierce resolve born of hardship and hope. She reached for a framed photo on her desk, a picture of her mother, smiling with quiet strength. "Carry on," the photo seemed to say. Just as Monica was gathering her thoughts, her phone buzzed urgently. It was a message from her chief of staff. "We've received an anonymous tip about a planned backlash, organized misinformation targeting your credibility." Monica's heart sank, but her resolve sharpened. The fight was far from over. Powerful interests resistant to change were mobilizing. The misinformation campaign spread swiftly. False stories, doctored images, and twisted narratives circulated across social media platforms. Anonymous accounts amplified skepticism about Monica's intentions and integrity. The online world was a battlefield, where truth was often obscured beneath waves of doubt and deceit. Monica faced a new adversary, not just prejudice, but manipulation, and fear-mongering designed to fracture the movement. Despite the attacks, Monica's coalition grew stronger. Allies from tech, civil rights, and media came forward to support her publicly, countering falsehoods with facts and stories of hope. Grassroots activists organized rallies, emphasizing the movement's core message of unity and justice. Monica realized the power of community, that resilience was often collective. Meanwhile, Karen grappled with her own trial. The airline placed her on mandatory leave during the investigation, a humbling and isolating experience. She spent hours in reflection and study, confronting the realities of her past actions and their broader implications. Karen reached out to communities affected by bias, seeking understanding and ways to make restitution. Her journey of transformation became a personal crusade for redemption. In an emotionally charged press conference, Monica addressed the misinformation head-on. Her voice was steady but passionate as she spoke of the power of truth, the dangers of division, and the necessity of hope. She called for empathy and reason, urging society to resist manipulation and embrace progress. Her words resonated deeply, sparking renewed commitment and inspiring many. Slowly but surely, the tide began to turn. Public opinion shifted as more people saw through the smokescreens. Legislative bodies took notice, initiating inquiries and proposing reforms to promote diversity, equity, and inclusion across industries. Monica stood before a packed auditorium, the faces of eager young leaders and changemakers looking up at her expectantly. Today marked the launch of the Equity and Empowerment Initiative, a program designed to dismantle systemic barriers in corporate culture, education, and policy. Her journey from passenger to CEO, advocate, and visionary had prepared her for this moment. Yet she knew the real work was only beginning. "This isn't just about me," Monica began, her voice steady and clear. "It's about all of us. The barriers we face, the biases we must uproot, and the future we must build together." Applause rippled through the room, but Monica's gaze was fixed on the road ahead, long, challenging, but filled with promise. While Monica focused on the broad vision, Karen immersed herself in grassroots work. She visited community centers, schools, and training programs, listening intently to stories of struggle and resilience. One conversation stayed with her, a young woman describing how subtle bias at a summer internship had nearly derailed her dreams. Karen realized that true change required reaching the unseen corners, the quiet places where biases thrived unchecked. Change was not without sacrifice. Monica felt the strain, long hours, relentless scrutiny, and moments of isolation. She missed simple pleasures, time with family, quiet evenings, the freedom to step away. Yet, in her darkest hours, she reminded herself why she fought: to ensure others wouldn't have to endure what she had. An unexpected invitation arrived. Karen was asked to speak at Monica's corporate summit. The idea of sharing a stage was daunting, but both women recognized the power of their joined narrative. Their presentation was raw, honest, and inspiring, an emblem of reconciliation and the collective power to heal. Monica and Karen's stories intertwine ever more deeply, guiding a movement that transcends individual triumphs. Their work sparks global conversations, policies evolve, and new leaders emerge. But the path remains long, filled with challenges and breakthroughs alike. The conference room buzzed with quiet anticipation as Monica and Karen took their seats side by side. It was a moment charged with symbolism. The two women whose lives had collided in conflict now stood united, ready to share a message far bigger than themselves. Monica opened the discussion. When we first met, there was pain. There was misunderstanding. But there was also a choice, whether to remain divided or to find common ground. Karen nodded, her voice steady but sincere. I was forced to confront parts of myself I hadn't wanted to see. My journey taught me that change begins with humility and the courage to listen. Together they unveiled a groundbreaking partnership, a program aimed at equipping frontline employees and corporate leaders alike with tools to recognize and dismantle bias before it could take root. The room erupted in applause, but both women knew this was just the beginning. Behind the public accolades and policy drafts, Monica and Karen wrestled with the personal toll of their mission. Long hours blurred into weekends, and the emotional labor of confronting deep societal wounds weighed heavily. Monica confided to a trusted colleague, "Sometimes I wonder if the world is ready for this change. But then I remember the faces of those who've told me their stories. Their hope keeps me going." Karen, too, found solace in small victories. A student's newfound confidence, a manager's honest reflection during training, moments that stitched progress from the fabric of struggle. As they wrapped their presentation, Monica glanced toward Karen with a quiet smile. This work demands resilience. But together we're planting seeds for a future where stories like ours are no longer exceptions but the norm. Karen's eyes shone with conviction. And when that day comes, it will be because we dared to begin. The audience rose in a standing ovation, not just for the women before them, but for the promise of transformation they embodied. Weeks after their powerful joint presentation, Monica and Karen found themselves at the heart of a new initiative, a nationwide campaign to reshape corporate culture and public awareness. The campaign was ambitious, aiming not only to educate but to create lasting systemic change. Monica was in the middle of a strategy meeting when her phone buzzed. The message was simple but electrifying. Your work has inspired a major corporation to overhaul its diversity policies. She smiled, feeling a surge of hope. Every breakthrough, no matter how small, was a victory. But leadership came with challenges. Critics emerged, questioning the motives and methods of the campaign. Social media became a battleground, with voices of dissent and support clashing fiercely. Monica grappled with the stress, often retreating into quiet reflection late at night. She confided in Karen, who understood all too well the personal cost of public scrutiny. One evening, after a particularly grueling day, Monica received a heartfelt letter from a young woman who had attended one of the workshops. The letter spoke of renewed confidence, hope, and a determination to pursue her dreams despite obstacles. Monica held the letter close, reminded that the true impact of their work was measured not in headlines but in lives touched. As Part 4 moved forward, Monica and Karen faced new trials and triumphs. Their partnership, once forged in tension, had become a beacon of possibility. Yet the road was long. Deep-rooted biases and structural inequalities demanded relentless effort. But with every step, every story shared, and every barrier broken, they moved closer to the change they envisioned. The sun dipped low behind the cityscape, casting a warm, amber glow through the conference room's expansive windows. Monica sat with her team, reviewing the latest reports from the campaign's outreach programs. The data was promising. Increased awareness, tangible shifts in corporate policies, and most importantly, a growing community of advocates. Yet, amid the progress, Monica sensed the subtle undercurrents of resistance. Change she knew rarely came without pushback. Almost overnight, coordinated efforts surfaced to undermine their work. Anonymous social media accounts spread misinformation, corporate insiders leaked confidential memos opposing reforms, and some media outlets framed the campaign as divisive. The attacks were sharp and personal, designed to sow doubt and fracture support. Monica faced the storm head-on. "We expected resistance," she told her team, "but every challenge is a chance to reaffirm our commitment." Meanwhile, Karen was on the ground, working with frontline employees who often bore the brunt of bias. She listened to their stories, moments of exclusion, microaggressions, and silent struggles. Each narrative strengthened her resolve to be a catalyst for change, to be a voice for those who felt unheard. That evening, Monica and Karen met quietly, in a small cafe away from the public eye. The weight of the campaign hung between them, but so did their shared determination. "We knew this wouldn't be easy," Monica said softly. Karen nodded. "But it's worth every battle." They clinked their coffee cups, a simple toast to resilience, hope, and the journey still ahead. The city lights shimmered through the rain-speckled windows as Monica stared at her reflection. The relentless pace of change had begun to take its toll, not just on her body, but on her spirit. The faces of those she fought for flashed before her eyes, reminding her why she could not falter. But a new challenge loomed. Internal divisions within the coalition threatened to undermine their united front. Differing visions, competing priorities, and the strain of constant pressure created fault lines that were beginning to crack. At a recent coalition meeting, heated debates erupted. Some members pushed for more aggressive tactics. Others advocated caution and consensus building. Monica found herself navigating turbulent waters, striving to hold the diverse group together without compromising their shared mission. "It's not about power," she reminded them. "It's about progress. Together we are stronger than any obstacle." Meanwhile, Karen faced her own crossroads. An opportunity arose for her to return to the airline's customer relations team, but only if she agreed to limit her advocacy efforts. The offer was tempting: stability, a chance to rebuild her career, but the price was silence. Karen wrestled with her conscience. Could she accept comfort over conviction? In a quiet moment, she reached out to Monica for counsel. Their conversation was raw and honest, a testament to the complexity of their shared journey. Ultimately, Karen chose to stay true to the cause, even if it meant sacrifice. Monica admired her courage. Together they recommitted to the work, knowing that real change demanded resilience, not perfection. The conference hall was buzzing with anticipation. Monica stood backstage, smoothing the fabric of her jacket, her heart steady but her mind racing. Today was the culmination of months of tireless work, the unveiling of the next-gen equity framework, a comprehensive plan designed to embed inclusion and fairness into corporate DNA. She glanced over at Karen, who was seated nearby, her expression a mix of pride and quiet determination. The journey they had embarked on together had been long and fraught, but this moment felt like a victory, not just for them, but for everyone who had fought alongside them. Monica stepped onto the stage to a standing ovation. The lights were bright, the faces in the crowd expectant. She took a deep breath and began. "Our world is at a crossroads," she said. "We can choose to uphold systems that exclude and divide, or we can choose to build bridges that connect and empower. This framework is our blueprint for change." She outlined the plan's key pillars: education, accountability, mentorship, and community engagement. Her voice carried conviction, inspiring a wave of hope that rippled through the audience. After the presentation, Monica and Karen retreated to a quiet corner. The applause still echoed in their ears, but the work was far from over. Karen shared her latest experiences, stories from employees grappling with bias, moments of breakthrough, and setbacks. Monica listened intently, knowing that real change was messy and ongoing. Later that night, Monica sat alone, reflecting on the path ahead. Leadership was a burden as much as a privilege. Every decision carried consequences. Every word shaped futures. She reached for her phone and called her mother, drawing strength from her unwavering support. "Remember," her mother said warmly, "your courage lights the way for others. Keep shining." Monica and Karen's journey symbolized the relentless pursuit of justice, a testament to the power of resilience, empathy, and collaboration. The road was still long, but with each step, they moved closer to a world where respect and equity were not exceptions, but the norm. Monica stared out over the skyline from her office window. The city sprawled beneath a crisp dawn. The last few years had transformed her life, and the landscape of corporate America was beginning to shift. But progress often brought new challenges and new battles. A growing coalition of corporations had embraced the next-gen equity framework, yet pockets of resistance remained fierce. Monica understood that changing hearts and minds was an intricate dance, one that required patience, strategy, and unwavering resolve. Midway through a high-stakes board meeting, Monica's phone buzzed with urgent news. A scandal had erupted at one of the coalition's partner companies. Allegations of systemic discrimination, whistleblower reports, and social media outrage. The fallout threatened to unravel months of progress and cast doubt on the entire movement. Monica's team scrambled to assess the situation, crafting a response that balanced transparency with accountability. Meanwhile, Karen had taken on a new role within the coalition, leading a team dedicated to employee support and conflict resolution. Her first-hand experiences and genuine empathy made her a trusted figure among workers navigating difficult conversations and incidents. Karen's transformation from antagonist to advocate inspired many, proof that change was possible, even from the most unlikely beginnings. The boardroom was tense, voices low but urgent as Monica and her leadership team strategized the next steps. The scandal had hit like a storm, and the pressure was mounting. "We need immediate transparency," Monica asserted, her voice calm but firm. "An internal investigation, full cooperation with authorities, and clear communication with the public." Her team nodded, already mobilizing resources. "This is a test of our principles," Monica continued. "We must show that accountability isn't just rhetoric, it's action." Karen, meanwhile, found herself on the front lines. Her role as liaison between employees and management required delicate balance, empathy, firmness, and clear communication. She met with affected employees, listening deeply, acknowledging pain, and providing support. Her presence was a balm, bridging gaps and fostering healing amid the turmoil. Through the crisis, Monica and Karen learned valuable lessons about leadership, that it demanded courage in adversity, humility in mistakes, and resilience in pursuit of a vision. They reminded their teams that setbacks were part of the journey, not the end. Together, they recommitted to the mission, fueled by renewed purpose. The aftermath of the scandal was a crucible that tested the coalition's strength and resolve. Yet amidst the challenges, new opportunities for growth and healing emerged. Monica stood before a group of young professionals at a community outreach event. Their faces were eager, curious, some marked by the same struggles she knew too well. "This isn't just about fixing a broken system," Monica told them. "It's about building a new one where everyone's voice matters." Her words resonated, planting seeds of hope and empowerment. Later, Karen sat quietly in her office, reflecting on the journey from confrontation to collaboration. The weight of past mistakes remained, but it was tempered by the progress made. She penned a letter to Monica, an expression of gratitude and commitment to the work ahead. The partnership they forged was a testament to the power of change, grounded in honesty and courage. Monica and Karen's partnership blossomed into a powerful alliance. Together, they spearheaded workshops and forums that brought diverse voices to the table: corporate leaders, community activists, employees, and students. In one such forum, Monica addressed a room filled with young, aspiring leaders. Change begins with us, she said passionately. When we listen, learn, and lead with empathy, barriers crumble. Karen facilitated breakout sessions where employees shared experiences and strategies for inclusion. Her openness encouraged honesty, transforming fear into understanding. Despite their successes, Monica and Karen knew complacency was the enemy of progress. Some companies slowed their efforts once initial enthusiasm waned. Monica tackled this head-on in a high-profile panel discussion. Diversity and inclusion are not trends. They are commitments that require continuous action. She challenged leaders to embed these values into the very fabric of their organizations, not just as policies but as culture. Karen supported this push by developing ongoing training modules that kept awareness alive and evolving. Years into their journey, Monica and Karen looked back on the transformation sparked by their work. While challenges remained, tangible change was undeniable. Monica's company became a model of equity, with diverse leadership and inclusive practices. Karen's advocacy inspired new generations of employees to embrace vulnerability and courage. Together, they celebrated milestones, policy reforms, award recognitions, and most importantly, stories of lives uplifted. Their vision of a more just and compassionate world had taken root, flourishing through resilience and hope. The room was quiet except for the soft tapping of keys and the distant hum of city life outside. Monica sat at her desk, the glow of her laptop screen illuminating the thoughtful expression on her face. The campaign had achieved milestones many deemed impossible, yet the weight of progress was not without its burdens. Behind every public victory lay countless sacrifices. Monica had missed birthdays, anniversaries, and quiet moments with loved ones. The endless meetings, public appearances, and media scrutiny left little room for rest. She recalled a recent phone call with her younger sister, who gently chided her for neglecting family. Monica had smiled, but inside the tension between duty and personal life stretched taut. The pressure to be perfect, to lead without faltering, was relentless. Late at night, doubts crept in. Was she pushing too hard? Could systemic change happen in her lifetime? The voices of critics echoed louder sometimes than the cheers of supporters. Anonymous messages questioned her motives, her leadership, even her identity. But Monica had learned to steel herself. Every challenge was a test of resolve. In a modest apartment across town, Karen sat surrounded by notes and books. Her transformation was ongoing, far from complete. She had grown from ignorance to awareness, from defensiveness to advocacy. Yet the echoes of her past mistakes lingered. Karen often wrestled with guilt, questioning if redemption was truly possible. One afternoon, Monica and Karen met in a sunlit cafe, their favorite retreat from the storm of activism. They spoke candidly about the burdens they carried, the loneliness of leadership, the fear of failure, and the hope that kept them moving forward. Monica reached across the table, grasping Karen's hand. "We're not alone, we have each other." Karen smiled through tears, "And together we're stronger." Their conversation renewed their commitment, not just to the cause but to their own well-being and balance. They agreed to advocate for self-care and mental health as vital components of any movement, because the fight for justice demanded sustainable strength. The early morning sun filtered gently through the sheer curtains, casting a soft glow on the modest room where Karen sat alone. It was quiet, save for the rhythmic ticking of an old clock on the wall and the faint sounds of the city stirring awake outside. This was her sanctuary, a space away from the relentless demands of advocacy and the weight of her past. Karen's hands rested on a worn journal, its pages filled with raw reflections, lessons learned, and hopes for the future. Writing had become her refuge, a way to confront the tangled emotions that surfaced daily. Guilt, regret, hope, and determination danced in a delicate balance within her. The journey from ignorance to awareness had been anything but linear. There were days shadowed by self-recrimination, moments when the enormity of her mistakes threatened to overwhelm. Karen often wondered if true forgiveness was possible, not just from others but from herself. One memory lingered painfully: the flight that had changed everything. The cold glance she had cast at Monica, the words left unspoken but felt deeply by both. That moment had shattered illusions, forcing Karen to see the world, and herself, with new eyes. But acknowledgement was only the first step. Healing required action, vulnerability, and the courage to seek reconciliation. Weeks earlier, Karen and Monica had met again, not as adversaries but as partners in change. Their conversation had been raw and honest, a bridge built on shared humanity. Karen recalled Monica's calm strength, the way she listened without judgment yet held firm to her truth. It was a lesson in grace. For Monica, the meeting had been a reminder that progress was not about perfection but persistence. Together, they envisioned programs that addressed not only systemic bias, but the wounds it inflicted, wounds that required healing for transformation to take root. Inspired by their dialogue, Karen spearheaded a new initiative within the coalition, the Healing Circles Project. This program created safe spaces for employees, leaders, and community members to share stories, confront pain, and support one another. Sessions were facilitated by trained counselors and activists who emphasized empathy, active listening, and restorative practices. Karen watched as hesitant voices grew confident, walls crumbled, and bridges were built across divides. Monica embraced the project wholeheartedly, integrating mental health and emotional well-being into the broader equity framework. She recognized that fighting injustice was as much about nurturing resilience as it was about policy. In speeches and meetings, Monica championed the message, "Justice is not sustainable without healing." Despite their public roles, both women faced personal challenges. Monica grappled with moments of isolation, the constant glare of the spotlight a heavy burden. Yet she found strength in meditation, supportive friendships, and the quiet moments of reflection that reminded her of her purpose. Karen struggled with lingering self-doubt, but found solace in the progress she witnessed, the small victories that signaled change was possible. Their journeys intertwined, different but united by a shared commitment to healing and transformation. One evening, Monica and Karen gathered a small group of advocates, counselors, and community leaders in a cozy room filled with warm light and gentle music. They shared stories, fears, and hopes, creating a tapestry of connection. Monica spoke softly. "Healing is not linear. It's messy and ongoing, but together we can make space for it." Karen added, "We must be patient with ourselves and each other. Change begins in the heart." The room resonated with quiet strength, a testament to the power of vulnerability and collective care. As the Healing Circles project grew, so did the impact of their work. Organizations began adopting similar models, recognizing the necessity of emotional healing alongside structural reform. Monica and Karen's story became a beacon, not just of activism, but of the profound humanity at the core of justice. Their journey illuminated a vital truth, that to build a more equitable world, we must first tend to the wounds within. The auditorium was filled with a hushed reverence, the kind that settles over moments destined to be remembered. Monica stood at the podium, her gaze sweeping over the sea of faces. Activists, leaders, friends, and strangers united by a shared purpose. The journey that had begun with a single painful encounter had blossomed into a movement that rippled, far beyond anything she had imagined. Her voice, steady yet warm, carried the weight of years of struggle and triumph. "Change is not a moment," she began, "but a movement. It begins in our hearts and grows through our courage to stand together." Behind her, Karen sat among the audience, a living testament to transformation. Their paths, once divergent, had converged into a powerful alliance rooted in honesty, growth, and unwavering hope. As Monica spoke, she reflected on the moments of doubt, the battles fought in silence, and the resilience that had carried them through. The Healing Circles project, once a humble initiative, had become a blueprint embraced worldwide, weaving empathy into the fabric of justice. Karen's voice joined the chorus of advocates, her story a beacon for those seeking redemption and change. Together, they had shown that even the deepest wounds could heal and that bridges could rise from the ashes of conflict. The movement they had nurtured was now in the hands of a new generation, young leaders ready to carry forward the torch. Monica and Karen understood their role had shifted from warriors on the front line to guides lighting the path. With a final smile, Monica closed her address. Our work is never done, but with every step, we bring the world closer to the justice, respect, and dignity we all deserve. The audience rose in applause, thunderous, heartfelt, and full of promise. Months later, Monica and Karen stood on a balcony overlooking the city. The sunset painted the sky in hues of gold and rose, a fitting canvas for endings and beginnings. "We've come far," Monica said softly. Karen nodded. "And the journey continues." Their hands clasped, not just in friendship, but in solidarity, reminder that change was not a destination but a lifelong commitment. Together they turned to face the horizon, ready to embrace whatever challenges and victories awaited.